Broadcasting from the Symphony studio in Marietta, Georgia, it's time for the Technology Harmony podcast, brought to you by Symphony Technology Solutions. Tune in every week as we spotlight the very best minds in our industry. Now, here are your hosts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Technology Harmony podcast, brought to you by the Symphony Technology Solutions. I am one of your hosts today, Symphony's marketing manager, Katie Galley, and I am joined by my co-host, Trey Gaskins, the president of our Internet of Things division. How are you doing, Trey?
I'm doing great. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Trey. Super excited to dive into our conversation today. We have a really great guest to learn from.
We do.
So, Trey, did you have a good weekend?
Had a great weekend.
Yeah. It's pretty nice weather. This is a good way to kick off our Monday. Start the week right?
It is.
Yeah. So today, again, like always with our Technology Harmony podcast, we are spotlighting the top thought leaders in our property tech space. So in our Symphony studio with us today, we have co-founder and CEO at STRATIS IoT, Felicite Moorman. How are you doing, Felicite?
Awesome. Happy to be here, Katie. It's nice to see some fresh faces. I've been Zooming a lot, but I know most of those people because I work with them. So it's great to see Trey. It's been far too long. And Katie, it's really great to meet you. I'm a big fan of the show already, and this is lucky number 7. So
yep.
Make it a good one.
Exactly. Well, Felicity, we feel the same way. Super excited to have you. Super great to know, too, that you like our show so far, and excited to dive in. So, Felicity, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey and how you got the job that you have today?
Yeah, only if you don't hold it against me. Recovering attorney. Recovering being the operative word there. But I've been an entrepreneur all of my life. I started, I can't really say I started a landscaping business because I wasn't doing the landscaping, but I organized young landscaping men, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids in my neighborhood to mow yards. That was my first foray into entrepreneurship. And I realized that I don't have to mow the yard and they don't want to do the marketing. So it was a match made in heaven. And it really turned on something in my head about use of time and value. And that was just the beginning. So I've been an entrepreneur all of my life, even as a consultant at some point. So it was a pretty spectacular journey. I've had probably more fun than most people, I think, in their career sometimes. It's a tremendous benefit. I was, again, an attorney for a period of time and really commercial real estate, primarily transactional law, but have always been an early adopter of technology, always been fascinated about connection through technology and building community through technology. So when I started really understanding the capabilities of technology and the ability to build a future, the entirety of our future because of technology, it was an epiphany for me to understand the impact that you can have. And I think when we're very young, we all think and want to have a global impact. You know, we talk about as young people when we're early in our careers, changing the world. And I believe we can do that through technology. I believe that most of our problems today will eventually be solved if we're diligent and committed and dedicated and very, very honest with ourselves about what technology is capable of. I believe we will solve the problems that exist today with these technologies. So that actual mission led me to co-create STRATIS. Our original global mission still today is a huge part of what we are working to do, and that is to minimize the carbon footprint of commercial residential buildings. So I think we'll talk about this in a minute, but access, the ability to manage smart credentials for buildings has come to the forefront, especially right now, of prop tech. But we started in energy management, and it remains our mission. And I do believe we will inevitably have that as a co-leader with the access conversation we're having. But that's how I got here. It was really that desire to have a global impact and the recognition that multifamily hadn't had the opportunity to adopt technologies to optimize their own efficiencies to minimize that footprint.
And so, Felicity, from the time that then you started with STRATIS and you co-created it with that mission and then growing it to what it is today, how did you bridge that gap and kind of bring together with that mission, that original mission, but also with what you guys do today?
Yeah, that's excellent. So I do some mentoring for other startups and startup leaders, and probably my best piece of advice to those who are interested in entrepreneurship is, if you can avoid going it alone, if you can co-create something or co-found something, it's a much better path than not. It can be terribly lonely as an individual entrepreneur sometimes. And then the second piece is find somebody who is complementary to your skills. So while I will talk all day long, Trey, my co-founder is a fairly extreme inventor, dozens of patents, really capable of discerning what's possible today. Even if we're pushing really hard on the limitations of technology, both hardware and software, he can tell me no with pretty fair regularity, and does so. But at the same time, he can see when something is possible. So it was really the fact that we came together with business, marketing, sales, kind of evangelism of these technologies, and his what's possible today, that really drove us to where we are today, which again started with energy management, but has integrated now hundreds of products, because we realized that every single property has a unique pain point, and you don't want to sell a solution somebody doesn't need. But if you can enable a solution on a property that they need today, tomorrow you have the opportunity to either get back to your mission or add and expand the capabilities if you can create a real return on that technology investment. So it was working with somebody who really knows what's possible, and then consistently delivering real return and real value based on that possibility.
So Felicity, there's kind of I don't think I invented it, but I don't know who to give the right attribution. But a lot of companies want to do one of three things in my mind. They want to increase their revenues, they want to drive costs out of things, or they want to create a better experience. And it seems like STRATIS does all three of those. Is there a main driver that you've seen with STRATIS being able to impact raising revenues, decreasing costs, or increasing the experience? Does one stick out more than another?
Yeah, and this was a huge surprise to me. Again, we started STRATIS EMS. We weren't even STRATIS IoT. So EMS for energy management systems. And this is a story about product market fit. Here in the Northeast, we have some older buildings. Energy is pretty expensive. We were retrofitting 60-year-old buildings and had a really tremendous return on investment for that. These buildings some of them had never had thermostats before. And so that was an easy and obvious return in the Northeast.
Right. Where
it's sometimes 37 cents per kilowatt hour. Do you know what a kilowatt hour is in Texas? 5 cents. That is some subsidized energy right there.
Right.
So we realized that our value wasn't the same in Texas as it is in New York. It's phenomenal. In New York, New Jersey, here in Pennsylvania, it's really powerful. And that's what led us to integrate additional devices, which also led us to our partnership with Schlage very early on, 2015, around access. And here's where I was surprised. We were delivering this great return in the Northeast, but the rest of the country wasn't feeling it. And I wasn't discouraged because the Northeast is pretty big. But when Schlage came to us and asked if we would be interested in also integrating access management and control onto our energy management platform, we frankly thought we knew a lot more than we did. It turned out to be much more challenging than we expected. But what happened at the same time is this little guy created the demand economy as it exists today. Everything we do, and especially in the last 100 days, is at our fingertips all the time, and our expectations are that it is delivered immediately. Now, I did not predict, I am not prescient, I did not predict that access platform, that combining of all of that building, sidewalk to sofa, on one system, was going to enable a shift in our economy to this demand economy. The hospitalization of multifamily, these concierge services that are now expected and required. I didn't see that coming. I don't think I ever would have guessed it. But it turns out that the resident experience, vendor, guest, maintenance, the efficiencies that enables, and the ability to charge a little more for that convenience, that's that trifecta that you're talking about, Trey. And it came from access, not necessarily energy, but access. It's global, literally, not just national, but global. As we're launching in Europe, as we launched in Japan, we see that access remains the driver because of the demand economy, and because seamless access is something that's typically unheard of outside of hospitality. You know, they've had it for 30 years.
Right. Tell us a little bit more about what access means to STRATIS.
Yeah, so for STRATIS, it really is, again, sidewalk to sofa is the best way to describe how you have to get through a multifamily building. When we first partnered with Schlage, 2015, my co-founder, Ryan, had just moved into the nicest apartments in this part of Philadelphia. I mean, they're sexy. But they had 4 fobs.
Right.
4 different fobs, one for the gate, one for an amenity space that included package lockers, one for the unit, and then they had Butterfly. This is also how we met Butterfly. And so that's such a broken experience. And they weren't even credentialed, they weren't mobile. Butterfly is mobile, obviously, but the rest weren't mobile credentialed. They were literal keys and fobs.
Right.
And so that struck us as a lot for a property manager to manage, much less the resident. And that was the moment where we said, if we can put some of these legacy systems that exist in the marketplace, the new systems that are coming out and will organically be cloud focused as opposed to on-premises focused, that is an opportunity to change this market and really shift from what has been a disjointed experience for residents and a challenge for property owners and managers to a single sign-on, single database, really cohesive experience. So now on that same property, again, that's how we met Butterfly MX, tremendous partner in the space, has that resident-facing opportunity at the door to engage in the residents or vendors and vice versa. That moment, I said, let's get in touch with Butterfly, developed a relationship with them. So we had the unit door locks, we had the common areas with Schlage, we had that vestibule experience and that entryway experience. And then it was just a matter of a few more relationships. And the next thing you know, you have gates and garages and parking. And it was, it's been a long, well, I guess 2015. It feels a lot longer probably than it's been, but it's taken us some time to really deliver to the expectations of this market. And listen, not everybody loves this door lock or that door lock. And I will tell you, multifamily, especially in the Class A space, there's some sexy door locks out there. You know, right. They spend a lot of time on the aesthetics of their properties and really deliver. And that means we need variety. And there are 49 different access companies in multifamily that I know of. And there's a pop-up startup every day, a new one. But 49 that we could sit here and name together. And that's, we don't want to compete with our access partners. We want to be the platform or the racetrack, if you will. And then those properties can pick all their ponies to run. And we're just sitting here serving as that platform.
And so Felicity, then for when you guys say STRATIS is that original sidewalk to sofa solution, it is just that, then it's that seamless integration of all of those access points.
Yeah, and importantly, building wide. So building wide for those access points, but also that single pane of glass for your property manager to understand who's where and when, as is appropriate for audits, security, self-touring, agentless leasing, your vendors, your maintenance. This is a tremendous opportunity to increase those efficiencies that you were talking about, Trey, and really decrease the expense that it is to manage a property. Now, we don't want our leasing agents to become hospitality desk agents just because they're trying to offer more to their residents. It becomes prohibitive to sit there and make 30 credentials a day so that various guests, dog walkers, flower delivery, I mean, I see everything now in multifamily. Everybody's trying to get an edge. Dry cleaning delivery, it's really wild. And most of these buildings, if you're not building right now, you probably didn't build for the demand economy. It's almost impossible today to do enough package space to overcome the 60% increase in packages that COVID has brought us. That's like Christmas every day.
Right.
So that's really a challenge. So what do? We deliver to the unit. We deliver in unit when it's going to be appropriate again. Today, most people are in their unit. So we're not there yet, but we'll come back and then we'll be able to just set that inside. So it's a tremendous opportunity, the bespoke creation of technologies for an industry. And multifamily is voracious in its adoption. And I'm thrilled that they are. It's tremendous opportunity for me to deliver and serve, but it's I don't know. I think we're just scratching the surface, really.
And so, Felicity, like you just said, with COVID-19, I mean, the impact that it has had specifically with STRATIS, with your work in multifamily. And so now, I mean, being where we are right now in the world, and then now forward looking, where do you see kind of maybe adaptations needing to be made, more adaptations, or maybe kind of moving forward? What do you see as happening in this tech space?
Yeah, we are definitely seeing a sudden need for touch-free access in places where we didn't have it before. Certainly touchless access. I see advertisements here and there where somebody says touchless access, and I think what they're trying to say is touch-less access, because if you use your mobile credential to tap into a reader, but then turn the handle with your hand to open it, that's maybe touchless, but it's not touchless. So we're really working towards, at the demands and the requirements of our property partners, true touch-free, so that you can go from sidewalk to sofa without touching any of those buttons. I saw a horrifying statistic the other day. I already push elevator buttons like with an elbow. Already. That was before this. I'm one of those people who's like, I'm gonna touch something with this part of my hand, and I'm not gonna touch the elevator. But I saw this horrifying statistic. Elevator pads can have 40 times the bacteria and germs of a public toilet. I won't use those either. I'm not a germaphobe. I never have been, but it's just so obvious. But yeah, right. I'm certainly getting closer. So that's so touch-free is really, I think, what most property owners are aspiring to. Touch-less, certainly. I think it's a tremendous advantage right now not to have to touch other people's stuff to get to where you want to go. That goes for amenities as well. We're seeing opportunities and amenities to mandate how many people can be in there with the use of geofencing. In other words, if there are already 6 people in a gym, that door lock doesn't open for the incoming. It sends an alert to your phone. There are already 6 people in the gym. Please come back. And that's only if they haven't received the notice from going into their schedule and seeing if it's available. So
is that going to be a STRATIS product, or is that something that somebody else is doing?
No, that's STRATIS out of necessity, and that will be enabled with push notifications. So we need our residents to opt in to using the mobile application and not, relying on a smart card or a fob. But the fob nor the card would work either in that moment, but you wouldn't also receive the push notification that says why. And it's important to communicate and over-communicate what's going on as properties. We're also seeing, obviously, self-tour. So we have partners in the self-tour space like Tour 24, and obviously STRATIS has been able to enabled visitor access for years now. So we are seeing with social distancing and with our property managers kind of locked in office, for which I sympathize. These are frontline workers. I mean, when you think about property management today, it's essential that people be able to find a home, and these are essential workers. Not to tangent too much, but we have an entire wellness program developed around caring for those people who really are the caregivers of our properties. And that wellness program right now has been tremendously focused on making sure that you optimize all of the technologies that are on your property. And this is what I tell every property owner or manager who calls me. Before you want to buy something from me, let's make sure that everything you have that you're using today is optimized for maximum efficiencies and maximum value. Do you understand what we integrate with, and are all of your doors integrated into that? If you are working with RealPage, do you have a complete deep integration with STRATIS enabled on your property today? Butterfly MX. Sometimes the person installing or the group installing doesn't know. Now, this is not Symphony. Symphony knows. But every once in a while, we have a moment where there's a disconnect, and they'll have Butterfly on the property and STRATIS on the property, but they're not using the two together. So first thing we do is optimize for efficiencies. And then immediately thereafter, we start looking at what we can do to increase efficiencies with new technologies. But self-touring is a tremendous piece. We're also seeing something that isn't reliant on STRATIS, but I think is really inspiring. And that's the property managers enabling community through mobile applications and mobile communications with other residents. There's some great statistics, not horrifying like the elevator one, but some great statistics around if you know 2 other people in the building, you're 90% more likely to renew your lease. So retention and recruitment, not easy right now. And yet we're seeing some really creative property managers enabling their residents with tech, not STRATIS tech, just tech. And that's often, maybe it's a Zoom or a hop on, but it's pretty inspiring to see the ingenuity and the creativity of these people who are so stressed. It's so much more work than it ever has been.
So I've known you for a couple of years, and I've had the pleasure of watching y'all grow and expand your product offering. Tell us about the typical STRATIS apartment, and then maybe just talk about what can be done. I mean, there's so many. I know it's mildly unlimited, but the core. What's the core offering that you're seeing most often these days?
So if we get in early enough on the job, we really do see the sidewalk to sofa piece of access deployed almost ubiquitously. Now, sometimes some systems that don't work together will have been spec'd, and that creates challenges, but we overcome them. We even integrate where we didn't intend to from time to time with platforms that maybe aren't quite cloud ready in the traditional sense. Maybe they don't have the APIs available to us, but we still work with them so that we can get that seamless experience. So we're seeing that adopted pretty ubiquitously. But let's look at the smart apartment for a second. What we're seeing in smart apartments typically is a smart thermostat, and every single person has their own opinion about smart thermostats. Yeah. I love it because we have a lot of friends in the HVAC space. And so, Nest remains a hero product. And to date, as far as I know, we're the only platform that can fleet manage Nests. And what that means is a property manager doesn't have to go factory reset that thermostat when the resident leaves. So they don't have to turn that thermostat off and on, which is a fairly complex process.
Right.
And then the unit door locks are a big deal. And so if you can do the unit door lock and you can do the thermostat, you're maybe 1 or 2 devices away from a smart apartment. My general recommendation, if they've already expended that capital, is to go ahead and put in maybe a light switch that's close to the door. So when the door unlocks, the light comes on. Like, do something for wow factor. for fun for your incoming residents so that you can really market around the smart apartment. And it's buzzy. It's a hot topic for residents and for property managers. So that's kind of the minimum smart apartment that we're seeing today. But let me tell you, that we have those. Now, honestly, I don't know that I could afford to live in these places, but we have those that are just penthouse, window to the wall, phenomenally automated. And so that includes shade control is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It is absolutely fascinating and it's gorgeous. But I will tell you this, my favorite one, the other day we had a gas fireplace switch that would turn on the fireplace. So we did it. And then everything else was kitted out to the nines. It was a phenomenal experience to walk into. So then we connected Alexa. And when you walked in and said, Alexa, I'm home, the lights dimmed, the fireplace came on, music played. It was amazing. It was my favorite one so far. And I only wish that I had like a gas switch fireplace in my house because I would have done that immediately. I would have gone home, replaced the switch. So we really do see all the way from that initial like 3 devices experience all the way to every single device throughout. And it's amazing to see. Again, these are creative people.
What have you seen from I get going back to the 3 elements, 3 legs of the stool, a huge wow factor there. Maybe they can charge a little bit more rent, so maybe a revenue increaser. What are some of the things that really drive costs down for property managers in your mind? Because I know y'all do some pretty cool things there.
Yeah, so it does depend on where the property's at and what their rate of occupancy is. We do see some pretty tremendous energy savings when the turn is greater. So student housing, tremendous energy savings because there are periods of time when everybody comes and goes. All maintenance has to be done. Everything has to be completed. So we see in a matter of weeks. And so we see for STRATIS turn technology, we see pretty significant savings for energy there. We see energy savings in common spaces. Something like 40% of the energy bill of a property is related to those common spaces, and that can have a significant impact on the bottom line. Inevitably, the biggest mitigation opportunity is leak sensing, because water is the number one creator of damage in multifamily. And 9 times out of 10, if a unit is impacted by fire or water and the resident isn't there to like literally stop it in its tracks, it will affect other units. And so I can't remember what the number for the average, but it was something like $10,000 for the average leak. And we had one the other day that was $500,000 because we had not installed yet. We simply, frankly, COVID, there were construction delays and we hadn't got in. So that's, obviously there's an insurer there who's going to help out with that. But at the same time, it didn't have to happen. It caused additional construction delays.
Right. Hassle factors.
Yeah, we don't need that right now. We need anything that we can do to help create smooth operations is a pretty significant benefit. The more concierge services on your property, the more likely you are to be significantly positively impacted by an access management control system that gives you that one pane and kind of seamless automated access to a building.
And so Felicity, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do, what STRATIS does, where might they do that?
Yeah, so shoot me an email, Felicity with an E, because it's not hard enough growing up in Oklahoma with the name Felicity, at STRATISIoT.com. STRATIS is STRATIS IoT.com. And you can also go to our website and get some more information there. And reach out to sales at STRATIS IoT also, and we will set you up with the demo and really learn about your technology vision so that we can deliver to your mission.
Thank you all for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To learn more about our guest and their company, check out the show notes for the relevant links. If you would like to learn more about us here at Symphony, of course, subscribe to our podcast on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Symphony Technology Solutions and on Instagram at Symphony Tech Solutions. Here at Symphony, our ultimate goal is to make harmonious music out of all the technological noise. And we hope today's episode helped in doing just that. See you next time.